These symbols are called accidentals, and they change the pitch of the note they are placed next to by a half step. What's a half step? Well, a half step is the smallest distance between two different notes. Now, if we take a look at the musical notes, there are two places where the notes are naturally half step apart, between E and F and B and C. You can clearly see this on the piano because there are no black keys in between these notes. The rest of the notes are whole step apart, or two half steps, meaning there should be a note in between all these whole steps, as you can already see with the black keys on the piano. And in order to write these notes, we have to use either a sharp or a flat. A sharp raises the note up a half step. So if you put a sharp on the C, it becomes a C sharp, which is the note that's in between C and D. If you put it on D, it becomes a D sharp between D and E. E and F are already half step apart, and if you put a sharp on the F, it becomes an F sharp between F and G. On G, it becomes a G sharp between G and A. On A, it becomes an A sharp between A and B. And B and C are also naturally half step apart. Now, a flat does the opposite. It lowers the note down a half step. Let's start from B this time. If we put a flat on B, it becomes a B flat between B and A. On A, it becomes an A flat between A and G. On G, it becomes a G flat between G and F. On E, it becomes an E flat between E and D. And finally on D, it becomes a D flat between D and C. The last accidental we have to look at is the natural sign. The natural sign simply cancels out the previous sharp or flat on the note and changes it back to its natural note. You may have noticed that these notes have the same pitches, and we call those notes enharmonic equivalents, or notes that sound the same but are spelled differently. Alright, now that we know what these symbols do, we have to learn a couple of rules about them when they appear in the sheet music. First, you may see the accidentals right next to the clef. This is what we call a key signature, and it means to always play these notes as sharps or flats. For example, in this key signature, we can see that the sharps are located on where the notes for F and C are. So that means we'll always be playing F sharp and C sharp instead of F natural and C natural. Let's take a look at a different key signature. In this one, we can see the flats on where the notes for B, E, and A are. So this means we'll always be playing B flat, E flat, and A flat instead of B natural, E natural, and A natural. Next, when you see accidentals that are not part of the key signature, they only change the notes for the measure that they appear in. In the next measure, all accidentals turn back into the notes of the key signature. And this is how accidentals work in the sheet music.